A wonderful morning to everyone who has joined today. From the ManageEngine family, we would like to extend our warm welcome and sincere thanks to all our customers, partners, and users who are interested in our solution. Endpoint management and security is one of the main focus areas of ManageEngine. In today's webinar, we will focus on endpoint management solution, which has different product portfolio under management and security. During today's session, we will be discussing about the Desktop Central suite, which has management and security capabilities. Once again, welcome to the Desktop Central training. Let me introduce myself. My name is Jeffrey Nathan, and I'm a product specialist with ManageEngine. I take care of the endpoint management products, including Desktop Central. I am a seasoned technical support engineer, assisting customers in the implementation, consultation, and troubleshooting in case of any challenges. Let's have a look at the training schedule. We are on week 4 of season 18, with the remote control and tools. This is one of the modules of our endpoint management and security suite. We have covered a couple of other modules over the past weeks, and we are currently running our week 4 training sequence. In case if you have missed any of our training schedules, you can always view them on the link that is shown at the bottom of the screen. If you are interested in the upcoming training, please use the same link to register yourself. Let's have a look at the remote control module today. So the agenda that we have for today is, firstly, we will be having an overview of Desktop Central. Then we will be having a look at the architecture behind how Desktop Central works. And with regards to tools or remote control, is what today's session is about. We will look at some scenarios, including how we can troubleshoot help desk tickets and how Desktop Central's remote control will be of help to you. I have also taken a couple of scenarios like troubleshooting systems units and enforcing IT policies, which shows how Desktop Central as a tool can be a great help for you in your daily activities. We will also discuss some of the frequently asked questions with respect to the tools and remote control. In fact, even during the course of the training, if you have any questions, please feel free to chat using the chat window. I have an expert panel with me who are ready to answer all your questions. What is Desktop Central? Desktop Central is an endpoint management solution that ensures all your endpoints are secure and enables the users to use them effectively for business. Forrester defines unified endpoint management as follows: products that provide a centralized policy engine for managing and securing employee laptops and mobile devices from a single console. In unified endpoint management, you can manage endpoints in a traditional IT management fashion that includes patch management, application deployment, configuration deployments, operating system deployments, tools for troubleshooting, and day-to-day management activities. Endpoints can also be managed under modern management. So all modern operating systems support modern management. It supports features like geo-tracking, geofencing, managing Windows Store applications, profile distribution, info restrictions, and operating system reset and recovery. Can you guess a popular operating system when I say the word modern operating system? Yes, Windows 10 is a classic example in which we can manage both traditional and modern management. Desktop Central can manage both the worlds, traditional and modern management, from a single console. Hence, with Desktop Central's unified endpoint management, you will be able to leverage all these features that include Desktop Central's traditional management, that is patch management. So this is responsible for deploying operating system and third-party application patches. We have application management, asset management, configurations. In fact, if you are following a training schedule, We will be talking more about this in our next sequence. You can also manage other functions, including mobile device management for iOS, Android, Windows, and Chromebooks. Then we have modern management, which is for Windows and Mac machines. You can perform things like geo tracking, complete or corporate flight. You can put the device on kiosk mode. You can distribute store apps and manage profile distribution. And finally, we have OS deployment, where you will be able to create a single master image and deploy it to multiple machines. So these are the features that are offered within the Desktop Central suite. Thus, with the Desktop Central Unified Endpoint Management solution, you would be able to manage desktops, laptops, mobile devices, and tablets, server machines, point-of-sale devices, and even browsers. Desktop Central is recognized under Gartner's Customer Choice Award for the consecutive year for 2019, and they've also been featured in Gartner's Magic Quadrants for Unified Endpoint Management tools for a second consecutive year. So let's have a look at the Desktop Central architecture. Desktop Central is a client-server model application and an on-premise solution. So you can have Desktop Central hosted in any one of the supported operating systems. And this architecture talks about how you can manage the local area. And when it comes to the wide area network, you can manage different remote locations from the same console. The users can connect either using internet or over a VPN or APLS connection. For the machines that are present in a remote site which connect directly to the server, you can use a component, an optional component called the Secure Gateway Server. So what the Secure Gateway Server does is that it bridges the connection between the agent and the server securely over the internet. And when it comes to remote locations, we have a component called Distribution Server, which is used to throttle bandwidth for the data traffic between the Desktop Central server and the remote location. We will talk about this in detail as we go into the training, and you can choose to have machines communicate either directly with the Desktop Central server or using a distribution server. You will also be able to manage all your mobile devices using a secure gateway. So you might have a question. Let's say I have a secured environment which is highly closed. What happens in that case? Will I be able to manage my machines effectively using Desktop Central? Yes, you will be able to manage a closed network using Desktop Central. You can refer to the link that is shown towards the bottom of the page on instructions on how to set things up, how to go about patching the machines. Desktop Central is also available in AWS and Azure Marketplace. In case you are looking to host Desktop Central in any one of the cloud server, you can use AWS or Azure for it. We are also working towards offering Desktop Central as a cloud solution soon. So Desktop Central will be available in Solo Cloud as well. What are the components that you need to run this application? There are essential as well as optional components. The Desktop Central server is the central component that you will install, and this provides the interface to the management console. The agent is also an essential component because you need this to be installed on the targeted machines that you want to manage. There's another essential component that is called the notification server. This is an interesting component. We'll be talking more about this once we get into the product, into the presentation. And when we look at the optional components, we have a distribution server that serves as a repository for patches and software applications, scripts that can deploy to the machines. So you can create unique replication policies for each location as per the bandwidth requirement. Then we have the Secure Gateway Server. This is useful if you are going to manage machines that are not part of the LAN or connecting over the internet. We also have the Failover Server. In case if you want to have high availability, you can make use of this one. Moreover, you can also use a language flag to list the web console in your preferred language. We support 3 operating systems for now: Windows, Mac, and Linux. Please find the list of supported operating systems on the screen. Please give me. I will just switch to a different audio.
Yeah, sorry about that technical difficulties. So let's continue where we left off. So this is the list of supported operating systems, and the application server, that's the desktop central server, runs on the Windows platform. But you can manage endpoints with Windows or Mac or Linux operating systems. In case if you have any questions, you can always reach out to support. Please refer to the email address that is shown towards the bottom of the page to get in touch with us. So agent installation methods. Since Desktop Central is a client-server model, this means that you need to have an agent installed in all of your endpoints in order to manage them. And we facilitate agent installation using 3 different methods. One is via group policy or startup scripts in your Active Directory. You can simply download the application setup and push it using a GPO. Secondly, we have automatic agent installation. This is done directly from the web console. You can add multiple domains or work groups and choose the machines and push out the agent to them. And lastly, we also have scripts that you can use to install the agent manually. Alternatively, you can also download the agent package from the web console and use the setup files to manually execute the installation from the target machine. We will be talking about agent installation in greater detail in our upcoming training sessions. So if you're interested, please be subscribed to our upcoming training. Desktop Central can scale small as well as large networks using our 90-minute refresh policy. So what is the 90-minute refresh policy? Every agent communicates with the Desktop Central server once every 90 minutes. Irrespective of managing 90 machines or 900 machines or even 9,000 machines for that matter, the 90 minutes will be divided between them and each machine will be given a specific time to talk with the server. The server has the intelligence to assign a time for each client to talk with the server. This is to avoid network congestion or bandwidth related issues. So the 90-minute refresh policy is designed in such a way that the load to the server is split evenly. Ports that are used by Desktop Central. Desktop Central runs primarily on 2 ports, 8383, which is HTTPS, or 8020, which is HTTP. All the agents talk to the server using these 2 ports. There is another port, that is 8027, which is used by the notification server. And this port is used for all on-demand activities like initiating a patch scan, triggering remote control or software deployments, or configurations for the like. We will talk about the uses of this port in upcoming slides. And apart from these 2 ports, there are other optional ports that you need to be having opened. The important ports are listed on the screen. You can keep the respective ports open as per your requirements. And there are also a few other ports. You can view them using the link that is shown at the bottom of the page. This will give you a better idea about the ports that are required for the agent to communicate with the server. So how does Desktop Central operate with respect to remote management standpoint, and why do you need tools or remote control? The first thing is, if you have a help desk team or if you are part of IT, you will need this to resolve your help desk tickets, day-to-day tickets that come in for probably installation of applications or to troubleshoot and resolve system-related issues. So in order to manage or remote management, you need a tool like Desktop Central, which will facilitate remote management. And of course, if you would like to enforce or maintain IT policies, something like a power management scheme or a disk cleanup, or even to set a reboot cycle, you have IT policies that have to be enforced on your endpoints, then a tool like Desktop Central comes in handy to ensure that the policies are enforced. Finally, if you want to communicate with the end user, as part of the help desk team, it is required to communicate with the user about the progress of a ticket, or if you need any help like a remote session, or to ask permission from the user before hopping on a remote session, you will need to communicate with them by means of chat or video call. You will definitely need a tool like Desktop Central in order to take care of that. This is why a solution like Desktop Central is essential for enterprises to take care of all your remote management needs. Now that we have learned about the importance of Desktop Central for enterprises, we will have a look at a few scenarios that show how Desktop Central helps with remote management. To help understand this better, let's envision an environment wherein John has to manage 10,000 endpoints. John has set up the main Desktop Central server in Dallas. This is their headquarters, and has to manage machines from remote offices in London, Bogota, and Sydney respectively. These sites have varying bandwidth capacity, and data transfer can be fine-tuned using distribution servers and applicable replication policy. And with respect to the Sydney, John has a bunch of roaming users, and they will be connecting directly to the head office. So this is how John has set up his network. And let's go ahead and have a look at how John uses Desktop Central to help with his remote management needs. All the scenarios that we discussed today are designed in such a way that we can go through each of the steps of remote control to understand the different aspects, and it will probably give you a better idea about how you can better utilize this product. So the first scenario that we look at is when an end user, in this case Bob, raises a help desk request. Here we are using a help desk tool called Service Desk Plus. This is ManageEngine's own IDSM solution. Bob has raised a help desk ticket that he needs to have an Adobe application installed, and he also wants troubleshooting help with an issue that he's facing with the display adapters. So if you have tickets like this, I'm sure you will have day-to-day tickets like this that come into your help desk tool. How would you resolve this? So let's dive into the product now. Now this is Desktop Central. In case if you have not seen the console before, this is the main central web console. This is the Desktop Central suite that has patch management, software deployment, OS deployment, mobile device management, and of course tools. So we will be going through each module, and today we will be looking at tools. And as the first step, since we received the help desk ticket from Service Desk, I'll go about and show how the Service Desk tool looks. Okay, looks like the service is down. Sorry for the trouble. So I'll just show a sample of how Service Desk Plus looks. So this is a different web console. So you go to the Request tab, and this lists all the requests that have been received in your help desk tool. So you can open the ticket from here. So let's say, and you will have the option to initiate a remote control right from this page. So, and if you have integrated Desktop Central with Service Desk Plus, you have all the functionalities of Desktop Central within the Service Desk Plus console. So let's go back to Desktop Central now. So this is the tools section. And to initiate a remote control session, you need to go to Tools and Remote Control. So over here, this lists all the machine where the Desktop Central agent is installed, and you will be able to initiate remote connections from this page. You also have other tabs like History that shows the history of remote connections. Then the Setting tab, you can customize based on your specific requirements. You can enable or disable screen recording. You can configure the performance for different remote offices. And of course, finally, there's user confirmation. So I'll go back to the Computers tab. and I will initiate a remote connection from this page. So you are prompted for a reason. I'll go ahead and enter Adobe installation and HTTP request ID. So this is from the help desk tool. So this request ID is 128. You can enter the service desk plus request ID over here. And once the remote session is completed, it would be matched with the derails from the help desk tool. So I click on connect now. So this is the page that you will be viewing once you initiate a remote control session. On the left side, you have multiple options that help with changing the display settings. And then you have actions. So over here, you can send a Control-Alt-Delete command. So let's say you connect to a machine where the user is logged off. You can send an Alt-Control-Delete command and you can log in from there. You have options called blacken monitor. So let's say you're going to enter sensitive information in the screen, like a password to a network share or something like that. And you do not want the end user to be seeing this information. So you can blacken the monitor for them. And once you're done with the session, you can enable it again. And you also have the option to disable input. So if the user is frequently moving the mouse around or is inputting from his keyboard, you can disable their input when you're connected to the remote session. And let's say the client uses a different keyboard model. So you have English US and they have English UK. So if you want to switch between keyboard layouts, you can go ahead and do that as well. And then you have the view only mode. So in this case, you will be able to simply view the screen of the end user and they will be navigating to the steps for you. And last, you have the option to take a screenshot. So let's say you run into an error, you can use the screenshot tool and this would be saved in the desktop central server. Next, you have the quick launch menu. So if you want to remotely execute a command, you can open the quick launch menu and access command prompt, do it from there. Then you have control panel. So if you want to troubleshoot something or to uninstall an application, you can open control panel right from here. Then you have device manager. You also have display settings. So you can customize the display settings from this page. And then there's event logs viewer, there's file explorer and firewall as well. So after this, you have something called as power options. So you can log off from here. Or let's say you have completed a software installation and you want to reboot the machine in this case. So you can trigger a reboot from this page. And when you do not close the web browser, the web session, that the window, once the machine reboots and the agent is back up, it will connect to the same session again. So you do not have to initiate a new session after the machine reboots. The same thing goes with shutdown as well. Then you have the option called file transfer. So this is a software installation. So in this case, let's say I want to copy something from my share over to the target machine. So you just select the file and you can move it over to the target machine. So you can see it over here. So let's say you move the installation files from this machine and you can then trigger the installation from the target machine that way. And finally, we have chat options. So we have three different types, that is text, voice, and video call. So if you want to communicate with the end user at any point, you can use the chat or the call options within Desktop Central. So I'll just close this now. So this is with respect to initiating a remote control and the view within the remote control session. So once you click on disconnect, session would be terminated. Yeah. So I talked earlier about the different tabs in Desktop Central's remote control. So now that we have completed the session, go to the history tab. This will list the computer, the user that had initiated the session, and the duration of the respective remote session. And if you have enabled screen recording, you will have the option to download the video right from this page. Hovering above the download link shows the path where it is being stored. So the screen recorded file is created from the agent machine and it is uploaded to the Desktop Central server. So no traces are left behind in the agent machine. It is all stored only in the Desktop Central server part. Next up is the settings. So you can customize the different settings for remote control, we have two viewer types, that is HTML5 and ActiveX. So HTML5 is the more modern version of it, and it is a simpler to use version. You can notify the end users about remote connection. So if you disable this option, the user will not know that you are remotely controlling the machine. And this is a newly added option actually. So you can enable this option to allow the user to terminate the session from their end. So previously this was not an option for the end user. We have added it now. Next up, you can choose to have quick launch enabled or disabled. So if you do not want to reboot on the command prompt options that I showed you earlier, you can uncheck this and it will not be displayed. You can also disable wallpapers and disable arrow themes. And you can also automatically blacken the monitor by enabling this option. And same goes for the disabling keyboard and mouse as well. And capture alpha blending is something that has been newly released as well. So this helps you with capturing transparent windows in the desktop. And log the reason. So once you disconnect the session, you will be prompted for the log, and it will be stored in either the Service Desk Plus if you have integrated, or it will be stored in Desktop Central for auditing purposes. And lastly, you have the view only mode. So as I talked about earlier, you will only be able to view the target machine and not control them. And then we have screen recording settings. So you can enable or disable it from here. And once that is done, you can set the frames per second, the codec, and the color quality, and you can save it in this page. And then you have performance. So you have different remote offices and they connect using various methods. So some would be directly communicating and some would be over a distribution server. So you can set the color quality and compression ratio for each site based on their bandwidth capacities. And finally, you have user confirmation. So if you are something or worried about compliance, you can enable user confirmation. And you also have the option to make user confirmation permanent. So if you do this, you will need to contact the Desktop Central support in case if you want to have this setting reverted in the future. So that is with respect to remote control. Yes, I missed one important point. So let's say you are engaged in a remote session and you want to help troubleshoot the end user's issue and you want to rope in someone else from your technical team. So you have initiated a remote session again. So this is yes. And I will open a different browser window. So once you get into this page, okay, logged out of the same one. Sorry about that. Okay. So once they connect, they will also have an option called connect or join based on the session that is ongoing, and they can also enter the reason over here. So once that is done, they will get a similar window and they will have to move to the active settings by using the cog icon. So irrespective of the number of remote sessions that is enabled, only one user would be able to control the screen at a given point of time. So in case you want to get the help of a senior or a colleague in troubleshooting system issues, you can have multiple users engaged with the same session to help each other troubleshoot the issue. So that is all with respect to remote control. And next up, let's go back to the slide to see how this works now. So now we might ask, how did this work? So this is a very simple design. The server holds the key here. There are two ports that need to be open, that is 8443 and 8027. The moment the technician initiates a remote session, I was talking previously about the notification server being an interesting component. So this is the server that keeps track of the live agents, or this is what is responsible for immediate action. We call this as an on-demand action. And whenever you trigger something from the server, the notification server initiates the task on the target machine and has the target machine connect with the server. So this notification server and the port are essential for all on-demand operations. So the moment the technician initiates the connection, the request goes to the server. From the server through the 8027 port, it sends a notification and then it initiates a remote session. And this session is established over the 8443 port. If there are other technicians who want to join, they can view the same desktop or image frames right on the server. So this is how remote connection is established and works. There will always be a common question. Does this install any client on the background, or do I have to download something in addition to initiate the remote session? The answer to that is no. Nothing additional have to be performed because the agent is there and it will be able to initiate a connection without having a user to install the plugin or download something. So I can initiate it directly from here. And troubleshooting system slowness. The second scenario that we will be looking at is going to be troubleshooting system slowness. What are the tools that are available in Desktop Central that would help you with troubleshooting system slowness? Let's imagine a scenario where a user in John's environment has reported that their computer is unbearably sluggish. What are the tools in Desktop Central that John can leverage in order to troubleshoot this specific issue? Let's go back to the product to examine this. We have an option called System Manager under Tools, System Manager, where you will be able to browse through each task and process in the machine. So I can open Task Manager from this machine. I can open Task Manager from this machine, and this lists all the processes that are consuming CPU usage or memory usage real time from the respective machine. And this is listed right from the web console without remoting into the end machine. You can end the processes from here. You can also control the startup type for each application or the process from this setting. So to control startup programs, you go to the startup programs tab and you can either enable or disable them from here. So now that we have checked processes, what would be the next step? So the next step would be to check for the services that are causing any issues. So you open services and this lists all the services that are currently running in the machine. So you can start the service or stop, or even set the mode from this page. And then comes the Windows event logs. So as a technician, when you receive reports of a machine being slow or crashing, you would naturally want to check the Windows event logs for any traces. Or let's say your colleague has provided you with the ticket ID or the event ID, you can go ahead and view them all right from this page. So you can create a filter, select the event source, or you can select all, or you can even enter the event ID and filter based on the specific event. And once this is done, the next step would be to check for disk management or any disk related issues. So you go to tools and you go to system tools. You can create a task over here. So Desktop Central has three options with respect to checking disk. So it is check disk, disk cleanup, and disk defragment. So you go to next. You can select the drive volume and you can set this up for check disk. So next up will be disk cleanup. So if you're running Windows 10 version 1703 or later, we have storage sense, and storage sense will be taking care of this for you. And in case of machines that are running older versions of Windows, that is 1703 or below, you can customize disk cleanup utility manually. So let's say you do not want any log files and want to delete all the log files. So you can select that option over here. You can customize this completely. You have complete granular control, and you can move on to the next slide. So finally, this is disk defragmenter. So you can select the drives over here, and you can then optimize them based on your specific requirements. So once you have configured this, all the three settings, you can select the target over here. So you can target based on remote offices or based on domains. So you can select the domain over here or the remote office, and you can filter based on specific groups or even specific computers based on your need. Oops. And finally, this is the scheduler. So this creates a task under Windows Task Scheduler. So you can configure the conditions over here, the trigger conditions, and the frequency that you want, and you can finally have this set up. So I'm not going to click on finish, so I'll just go back. So next up would be to check registry. So let's say you want to check the registry as to what is causing a system issue. So you go to registry over here, and this lists the Windows machines registry right in this console. So you can customize them or manage them from this page. And you also have the option of exporting this. So once you export this, this gets saved within the desktop central server, and you will have the option to download it in case if you want to restore it at a later point in time. Then you have command prompt. So let's say you want to remotely execute a command, or you want to force a GP update. This can be done as well. So you go to the command prompt window, and you can execute the command from here. So by default, this uses the system user account, but you can log in as a different account if you have other accounts registered in the machine. So next you have File Manager. So this gives a similar view to that of File Explorer. So you can create or modify files from this window. So select the files and you can delete them, and you can also rename or edit files from this page. So next up, you have Device Manager. So earlier we talked about the system slowness issue. So let's say you do not want to initiate a remote control session to check for system slowness. You can access Device Manager, and you can unplug them or update the drivers from the web console directly. Then up next, we have shares. So this lists all the shares that are connected to the respective machine, and the current sessions that are open, and also the open files from the respective shares. And then you have printers. This, you will not be able to deploy printers from this page. That can be done under the configurations page. So we'll be covering that in detail in our next session. So over here, this lists the printers that are connected to the end machine. Then you have something called groups for group management. So let's say you want to add a user to an administrator group temporarily so that they can perform a software install or something like that. You can add the member over here. Or let's say you're done with this, no other members are left in the group, so you want to delete the group. So even that can be done from this page. And then you have softwares. So this lists all the applications that are installed in a specific machine. You also have the option to uninstall the application from this page. You will have to note that for MSI installations, you do not need to provide any silent installation switches. It is taken care of automatically. But with respect to exe files, you will need to provide the installation command manually. So that is something that is constant throughout desktop central, either on the inventory or software deployment as well. And finally, you have users. So that is user management. This lists all the users that are present in the respective machine. So let's have a quick recap. So with respect to troubleshooting system slowness. So firstly, we open Task Manager and Services to check what is causing system slowness in the machine. Secondly, we check the event log viewers to check if there was any traces of failures over there or system crashes. Then we set up check disk to optimize the disk space effectively using Desktop Central. And disk cleanup, we covered both of them. And finally, talk about remote command prompt. So now that that's done, let's move on to the third scenario for today. This is enforcing IT policies on network computers. Now, let's imagine John's organization has a policy that needs all workstations to be shut down by Friday evening at 6 p.m. And John also has a patching schedule set to second Monday of every month to correlate with Microsoft's Patch Tuesday. So I have to ensure that all machines are online by Sunday morning, and then I would have to reboot or shut down the machines when patching completes. So how would I do this? The first one is using Wake on LAN. Let's go to Tools and Wake on LAN. Before we go into Wake on LAN and how to set this up, you will need to make sure that 3 settings are enabled in your network for Wake on LAN to work effectively. The first would be magic packets have to be allowed in your network or the routers. So Desktop Central's Wake on LAN works using the magic packets. And number 2, you will need to ensure that Wake on LAN settings are enabled on all the target machines on the operating system as well as on the BIOS level. So in order for Wake on LAN to work, the third thing is that the Desktop Central agent, at least one machine with the Desktop Central agent should be online from the subnet where the target machines are present. Now, practically, that should always be possible, so that's not going to be a problem. But the first 2 things that I spoke about, that is allowing magic packets and enabling Wake on LAN settings on the OS and the BIOS, this is very critical. So if you are wondering how do I enable this on the operating system, that is no issue. So you go to admin and at the agent settings, you can enable Wake on LAN settings and save it. So within the next refresh cycle, the agent will be updating this and enabling it on an operating system level. And with respect to the BIOS side, you will have to enable it from the BIOS manually, or you can contact the device vendor. In specific cases of Dell, where I have seen, Dell has been able to provide a script, but I'm not sure about other manufacturers. So you can use the script to enable the settings on the BIOS directly. So once this is enabled, we'll see how Wake on LAN works now. So you go to the Wake on LAN page, you select the machine that has to be waked up, and you just click on Wake Up Now. So that would suffice. For this to work though, at least one machine has to be online from the target subnet. So I can see that one machine is online. So this should work without any issues. So let's say you do not want to trigger this on demand. You want to schedule wake up because to match the patching schedule, that is off work hours, you will need the machines to be booted up on a Saturday or a Sunday. So you go to add task. So you provide the task name and the port, and you can just provide the target machines over here. So this is the same level of customizability throughout Desktop Central. So all fields that have a target can be filtered similar to this page. And lastly, you have to configure the scheduler settings. So the date, and that's it. So when the schedule hits, the target machines will be booted up and the patch task would complete. So once the task completes, you will need the machines to be rebooted. So how do I go about doing that? You go to Tools, and you have a setting called Remote Shutdown. So over here, you can select the machine, and you have an option to shut down the machines, or you can also lock the machines, or standby, or send them to hibernate, or even trigger a restart from here. So this is an on-demand task, but with respect to scheduling it, you go to Schedule Shutdown, and create a task over here. Provide the task name and the operation details. So shutdown, restart. And you also have the option to provide the users an option to skip or postpone the reboot, or you can force shutdown or force restart. So you can provide the timeout settings for the notification. So the users will be notified that the reboot task is going to take place. And finally, you can target the machines and configure the scheduler settings. And once this is saved, based on the schedule that you have configured, a reboot or a shutdown will be taking place at a specified time. Let's say you want to have different options with respect to power management other than remote shutdown or waking up on LAN. So that is also possible using Desktop Central. So you go to configurations, and under Windows, you have an option called power management. So over here, you will be able to create a power scheme or even modify an existing screen for that matter. And you can set different settings for when a device is plugged in and when it is running on battery. So once this is done, you also have the option to view power management reports. So you go to reports and power management reports. So this lists the uptime of the machines. This lists the total uptime and the total downtime. But if you want a more detailed view, you can click on the detail tab and it should show when was the last specific startup time and the last shutdown time. So these are all the options that Desktop Central has with respect to power management schemes. And this is all available under different sections like configuration, tools, and even reports for that matter. So just a small recap when it comes to enforcing ID policies. Of course, there's a variety of policies that you can choose from Desktop Central. You'll be able to enforce shutdown, restart, or wake on LAN, or if you want to schedule them, and you can send a specific power management scheme. You will be able to do all of that using Desktop Central. The last scenario that we'll be discussing is how Desktop Central helps with respect to notifying users whenever there is a problem or an issue. Imagine you have an MS Exchange server that is down and you are unable to communicate to end users saying that it is down. If you want to create an announcement, you can use Desktop Central for that as well. So practically, if you want to create an announcement for the end user, you can do that as well. So let me go back to the product, go to tools, and you go to the announcement tab. For example, in my case, I'm going to create an announcement stating that the MS Exchange server is down. So you can provide a title over there and you can have it scheduled after that. So you can set the start time over here and the end time, and you can also set the frequency for this. You can have it shown once every 10 minutes or 5 minutes based on your specific preference. Once that is done, you can save this, and this will pop up on the end user at the start time, and it will load something similar to this. This will be the actual message once you save it, and they will be able to view it. For now, what we're given is it will be able to tell you the server will get back and the feedback, but it does not list a confirmation from the user. So we are working on offering something like this with the confirmation from the end user. This is currently a work in progress, but right now you can make an announcement with respect to issues or any information for that matter. Of course, the last one is something we touched upon earlier, that is voice or video call. So these can be initiated as well. Oops. So you go to tools. We saw them under remote control. So we also have the standalone option for chat, or voice call or video call. So you can initiate them right from this page. So the interface is similar in both the cases, whether it is from remote control or from the chat. So for video call, you will need to make sure that the port 8443 and 8031 is open. So and for file transfer, 8031 is mandatory and it has to be open as UDP as well. So now those are the actual scenarios where remote control comes in handy. And now there can be a question about security. So how secure is my remote control? You could do a lot of things as we are going through each functionalities. But how secure is this? So it is HIPAA compliant as well as PCI compliant. So you can very well verify if you want the system to be HIPAA compliant. We have a separate option where I can go ahead and say make user confirmation permanent. So you go to user confirmation and you can enable user confirmation and make it permanent and save it. You can also enable user confirmation before every session, and you can monitor or record and audit each remote session. So that is also part of Desktop Central. So you will be able to capture the information about who is spending how many time, and even the entire session is recorded as well. We have options to blacken the monitor, so you do not have to share any passwords, or you do not have to worry about opening sensitive information or transferring or exposing it over the remote session. Granular security is completely given to you. So say, for example, if I want to give access to only specific technicians for remote control, I can do that as well. So you can go to admin, user administration. I can create different roles here based on my specific needs. And let's say I do not want a user to use remote control, so no access. Or let's say we're going to have a remote desktop sharing technician. So you can enable full control for remote control over here and for tools. So these are the different options that we have with respect to Desktop Central. So you can map these roles to the end user, and you can also enable two-factor authentication as well. So those are the actual functionalities or the scenarios that I wanted to talk about. And now I have a few scenarios and solutions that usually come up on support. So let's go ahead and have a look at some of those now. How do I measure the time spent by technicians who are handling tickets related to desktops? So this is a question that usually comes up in case we have a service desk plus. You can always go to that specific ticket and we will post the details about how much time a specific user was using it. Or let's say you do not have integrated service desk and desktop central. This can always be viewed under the history tab. You can go to tools, remote control, and under history, you should be able to view this information. So next up, we would like to monitor the activities of the students in our school without their knowledge. Is this possible? Yes, that is possible. We call this as shadowing. So you can go into settings and you can uncheck the notify end users option. So this will not notify the end user about a remote connection that is taking place. So they will have no hint of what is happening. So you can disable user confirmation as well. And if you just want to shadow them, you can enable the view only mode. So you will not be able to control them, but only see their screen. Another scenario saying we are a healthcare company that needs to be compliant with certain regulations such as HIPAA. Yes, that is something that I've already discussed about. You are HIPAA compliant ready if you are using Desktop Central tools. Let's say installing and configuring IIS on a remote machine is complex. So I want to document the process and use it as a training material for newcomers. Is this possible? If you want to document any steps, you can enable screen recording over here, and that will record the whole session. So you can go to history and you can download the file over here, and you can use this as the training material for documenting purposes. I find my remote sessions are slow when I'm in a different country or managing roaming users. How do I fix this? Over here, you use the option called performance setting. Configure different settings based on their bandwidth capacity. So you can set compression to fast and color quality to low to ensure that the remote connection is smooth. The quality would be taking a hit, but remote control should be smooth for you. One of the users suspects an unauthorized remote access to his machine and has raised this to the IT manager. Is there a way to audit the remote connections to his machine? Yes, as I told you earlier, so there are two places actually. So one is under the history tab. So you can see the machine and the user who initiated the session. And there is also a page called audit settings. So you can go to action log viewer. You can filter based on tools and remote control. And this will show the history of remote connection sessions that have been taking over specified period of time. So you can set the date range over here, and it should show all the remote control sessions that took place during the specified window. I have a few servers hosted in no-man environment, and our company policy demands to get users approval before remote sessions. How do we handle this? So now for this instance, while we talk about enforcing user prompt, if you want certain machines to be excluded from the user prompt, that's when you utilize the last one under remote control. So you go to user confirmation, and over here, you have the option to exclude computers. So the machines that are listed in this page would not be getting the user confirmation prompt when they are being accessed. Now that we have seen a few of the scenarios, I also have a few of the frequently asked questions, and let's take a real quick look at them. So I'm going to run Desktop Central app on my mobile. Can I initiate remote control via the app? So we have a mobile app for Desktop Central. You can download them from the page, admin and mobile app. You can scan the QR code. We also have the apps listed under Google Play and App Store. So once you download that, you will have to configure the app using the settings that is seen on the right side of the screen. And then you would be getting a screen that is pretty similar to this. So this is a complete web console, the Desktop Central web console in the palm of your hand. So you can click on remote control, and once you get the machine, you can connect to it and enter the reason for connection. The interface is very similar to the one that you view in the PC. So you have the same options, and you also have gestures for navigation. So yes, you will be able to use Desktop Central remote control when you're connecting over the mobile app. You also have other options like System Manager and the remote shutdown as well when it comes to the mobile app. So I can use that as well. Does screen recording need to be turned on before you establish the remote control session, or can it be turned on during the session? Screen recording has to be turned on before you initiate the remote control session. So if you enable it during the session would not be recorded. So you will need to make sure that recording is enabled before you initiate the session. To allow multiple techs to work on the same remote that require additional license from ManageEngine. No, this does not require any additional licensing or cost, but you have to ensure that you are adequately licensed with respect to the number of users you are managing. So you can click on the license tab, and this would list the number of technicians over here. So this is the license number of technicians, and this is the number of technicians that you have added. So anything above 1 should be sufficient. So if you have 2 users, both will be able to remote control simultaneously. Will remote control automatically reconnect the session? Yes, after rebooting, the remote session will continue once the machine reboots and the agent is back up and running. If you like to restart during the session, you can do it using the quick launch tools that I showed earlier, and the session will resume once the machine reboots and reconnects. That is possible. To add more to it, it overrides usage confirmation prompts as well. So you do not have to worry about that. My remote control screen shows port 8443 is blocked. How do I resolve this? The best way is to add exclusions to a network firewall, but let's say that's not possible for some reasons. So you can go to admin tab, and under the port settings, you will be able to change the port that is used for remote control over here. So once you change it, this will be the port that Desktop Central uses with respect to remote control sessions. But you'll have to make sure that the adequate ports are open in your network firewall. Is it possible to take remote control of a roaming user? Yes, if you have exposed the Desktop Central server and the ports are open, or if you have the secure gateway server in place, you will be able to take remote control even for roaming users. Does wake-up feature needs to open ports in routers in order to send wake-up commands to remote clients? So this is something that I touched upon earlier as well. So you need to ensure that magic packets are enabled in your routers, and the port used is the default port. So you can customize that based on your network. I want the remote connection to automatically disconnect if the technician has been idle for over 10 minutes. How do I do this? Let's go back to the web console now. So tools, remote control, and settings. Over here, you have the idle session settings. So you can specify the time over here and the operation, and you can save the change. So this will make sure that after 10 minutes of inactivity from the end user, the session would be terminated. Our company wants to employ stringent privacy policies that limits technicians or admins from accessing the end user files or folders. How do we achieve that? Yes, this might be a very serious concern. So you do not want to have technicians accessing the end user's files and folders. So if you want to restrict that, you can go to admin, and under system manager settings, you can enable the settings for the end users over here. So let's say you do not want any users seeing file manager, or let's say only admin should have file manager access. You can enable only for admin, and command prompt is disabled for all users. So you can save this here and you should be good to go. So that is all with respect to the presentation for today. We have reached the final part of the session. And if you are interested in tools or remote control, but do not want the other features of Desktop Central, ManageEngine has a product called Remote Access Plus, which is offered both as an on-premise and a cloud-based solution. So unattended access and all other features that we saw today are part of that as well. So you can trial that if you are interested. And to know more about Desktop Central and Remote Access Plus, you can use the link that is shown on the page right now. If you have any further questions about Desktop Central, please feel free to write to us. You can contact the support team or even the chat window for now. And please rate us on a scale of 1 to 5, where 5 is the best. That's it from my side for the training today. And thank you very much once again for joining the training. I hope it was informative, and have a good day. Bye.